Right, what you're looking at is the finished wheel. What I haven't done is fit the grub screws into all the nipples. That's the last thing to be done. Now, the way I've got to this finished state is I basically used the TruSpoke tool, and I took all of the measurements as close as I could to the average nominal. And that, but just another point, when you're actually using this to get it to those places, they're actually tight. That's part of the reason I put this spinner on there, because it just gives you a little more purchase, and if you're wearing the gloves, it gives you a little more purchase still. But basically, from that point onto the jig, it's nearly finished. It's not finished, but from a trueness point of view, it's basically finished. Now, I did put it onto the surface plate to check how central the rim is on the hub. That is a feature that hasn't actually proven to be an issue. I was worried about it before I started the job, but actually it's something that seems to work itself out. I think I may have mentioned this earlier. I'm sorry about the repetition. I never really planned to make these videos, and I'm definitely not a YouTuber. But basically, my rim sits from there to there. The distance is 11.5 mil to get the rim central. Now, in practice, where this is finished up is about 11.2 on one side and 11.9, just shy of 12 on the other. So it's out by 0.65, 0.7. I think it's probably better than it was before I started on it. So I'm not worried about that. But once you take it off from using the tool and you get it onto the truing jig, the main thing you'll find using the truing jig, the TruSpoke tool, is that not all the spokes will have the same tension. But you have to keep going and stick to the numbers. Don't work by how it feels. You have to go around and just follow the numbers. Then when you get it on the jig, you can then spin the wheel and listen to the spokes, which is what I was doing. And remember, this is, I don't want to call it attempt number 4. It's more that I wasn't happy with the other tries. But this time I'm happy with this now, because what I've discovered is that it's not, well, look, somebody that's a real wheel builder, unlike myself, might actually be able to get it, true it to a finer degree. But what I have discovered looking at all the other videos, other people doing this, no one's getting it perfect. No one's getting it, you know, within 1 millimeter even. People are getting it in within 0.8, 0.5. And mine now is in around about 0.6, 0.8. Slightly difficult to see where the needle is. Maybe I need to do a video and slow it down. So basically, once it's straight on there, I then go around and tension using sound, literally just by getting an Allen key, and I'm tapping the spokes like this, going around, you know, and I'm getting them all within a little zone of sound. And after a while, you start to, you realize, I don't know, while you're doing it, your ear becomes quite adept at hearing what's a sort of too dull, too tight. Keep checking for trueness while you're doing this. A very big tip is to, honestly, I've seen other people saying turn the nipples sort of 1/8 of a turn. I'd go for less than that, really. I would be turning it a 32nd or a maximum 16th. It seems like you're doing nothing, but as you slowly work your way around, you are doing something. And you sort of, if you go a bit too mad, as I've discovered, it starts to sort of, you can very easily build a wave into the rim. But anyway, let's cut to the chase and show you how it looks. Before I do, what I want to point out is, I don't know how these rims are made. My guess is that they're an extrusion that is bent, welded, cleaned up at the joint, and then somehow they're pressing it into a nice, pretty much circular shape. I'm not sure how they're doing that. But anyhow, what it means is, on my rim, in the light, can you just see this here? There's little evidence here of, and I can feel it really easily with my hand. What it means is that when I spin it, and the dial gauge goes past this little zone, I get a wild blip. I'm a bit used to it now, but I'm still not sure how it's going to, if it has any effect at all once the tyre's on there. It may just not be a thing. The only way I'm going to find that out is to get it all back together and ride it. But before I spin it, so you can see the dial gauge and have a look at it, I had a 1.8, just shy of 2 mil radial run out across about a third of the rim, and it was out actually about 1.8. So have a look at where it is. And basically I can tell you that's about as good as I can get it. You can spend a lot of time looking at that dial gauge and going bonkers, but that's why I tend to look at the small dial, not the needle. The needle is really showing up the blip, but the actual run out is, I think it's around 0.7, 0.8 maybe. And that turns out, for this wheel anyway, is I think as good as it can be got. So yeah, it's a job that needs a lot of patience. You've got to be quite methodical with your numbers. I have to say that the way that I've done it and I'm talking about is using this TruSpoke tool. And really, I think doing it without that would be a proper nightmare. That would probably lead to a divorce and a broken wheel. It works. This thing has definitely worked. This has enabled me to, I think, really an hour and a half. I can get from a rattling rim to it kind of finished. I'm quite pleased. But obviously, the final proof will be putting the tire back on and going out for a spin and seeing if that vibration has gone at 130 km/h, which was driving me insane. I will put a list of sort of tools I've used and things you might want to need or might want to get if you want to tackle this. But it's definitely a job you need somewhere where you can just leave it and come back to it, because you know, I wouldn't want to be doing this in my living room, and also not without other tools. I had to replace a spoke, and getting the spoke out was pretty easy, but it didn't want to come out. Let's put it that way. I'd kind of recommend it, but that spoke tool, this guy, is horribly expensive. But it makes all the difference. I don't quite know how you do it without it, really, if you're